Go.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome.
Morning.
I am Liz and Liz and Doy, and I am so delighted to welcome you on behalf of the Hoboken Public Library to Art at Home. And thank you so much to the Hoboken Library for sponsoring this class and for supporting the arts during this time of pandemic. I've said it a million times, but it bears repeating. The arts play such an important role in keeping us healthy, sane, and engaged during this time where we're forced to keep away from people. Thank goodness that's starting to change. That's the good news, and hopefully each day will bring us more good news. We are now in May, which is Asian and Pacific Islander, Asian American and Pacific Islander History Month. And for the second week in May, we are looking at another Korean American artist. Her name is Julia Kwon. She is very new to me, and I am already enamored, completely enamored of her and her work. She was born in Northern Virginia of Korean heritage. Her work is very complex and multi-layered. You might not guess it when you look at it because it is based on traditional Korean fabric and Korean patterns in the fabric that she uses. I want to read to you the information, some of the information that I have about her work. Ordinarily, I don't like just reading text because I think it's kind of boring, but her work to me is so very deep and multi-layered that I think a reading is worth it to explain fully or more fully what her work is about. So her work comments on gender and ethnicity. It explores different ways for creating, and I'm not sure if this word is right. It may be a typographical error. It explores different ways for creating ruptures on Korean patterns. We can maybe talk about that when we look at images of her work. She activates the paintings in relation to the stretcher bars, what she stretches the paintings on, which then become metaphors for framing and societal expectations for the authentic. She also creates figures inside enlarged Korean object wrapping cloth and lucky pouch to express the embodied experience and both the seriousness and ridiculousness of objectification. However, the fabrics are not only covering, blocking, and suffocating, but also protecting, hiding, and mystifying the body. So her work talks about how fabric can cover, but also cover and protect, but also conceal and hide and inhibit and suffocate. So fabric clothing can play two roles, particularly for women. The textiles Kwon creates symbolize constructed notions of what it means to be Korean. Her work is not simply a representation of minority identities, but rather a commentary on the dehumanizing, problematic process of being identified, reduced, and categorized. And this is something that all immigrants go through. A commentary on the dehumanizing, problematic process of being identified, reduced, and categorized. By employing object wrapping cloth that was historically a creative outlet for Korean women who had limited contact with the outside world, she considers ideas such as tradition, labor, craft, and quote unquote feminine work. Furthermore, the human scale box painting that combines traditional Korean textile with contemporary global logos considers both the past and the present to further investigate the idea of authenticity as well as cultural hybridity and transnationalism. So I think what they're saying there is she uses traditional Korean textile, combines it with contemporary global logos to investigate the difference between local and transnational symbolism. By meticulously creating Korean textiles through painting and sewing, Kwon cherishes her cultural background. However, through imposing various disruptions and overburdening the textiles with quote unquote ethnic patterns, she not only conveys her experience of being objectified and judged superficially, but also exposes and undercuts the very preconceptions others may have based on her gender and ethnicity. So I'm right, her work is deep and multi-layered. There are many aspects to her work. She's a feminist. She's talking about her own ethnicity and how it feels to be an other in this country, and what it's like to be a second generation immigrant trying to find her identity in the larger majority culture. Born in Northern Virginia, she earned her MFA at the School of the Museum of Fine Arts at Tufts University and her Bachelor of Arts in Studio Art at Georgetown University. Her work is at the Smithsonian Institute of Art. She's shown all over the place. The Hirshhorn Museum Sculpture Garden. If you've never been to the Hirshhorn Museum in Washington, D.C., highly recommend it. It's my favorite art museum in Washington, D.C. Check it out. All right, ready to look at some of her images? Yes? I hope so. Everybody good today? I didn't even ask. I'm so excited about Julia Kwon. I didn't even ask how you all are. Forgive me. I want to show this piece first. And I think a lot of us are going to identify with it. Kind of looks like it's upside down, but this is the way it is on her website. So can you all see it? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a mask, obviously, and it is part of a show that she had recently called Unapologetically Asian, in which she made lots of masks, and she made them in a particular style. So this is a Korean style of patchwork quilt fabric making. Apparently in the traditional Korean fabric making, patchwork is very prevalent and prominent and sought after. So she made these masks in the patchwork Korean style. And she deliberately had a show about mask making because of the anti-Asian racism caused by the commentary and the comments being made in the public arena about where the virus originated and how it is exacerbating and fomenting anti-Asian hatred. And that's what this show is hoping to stop and dissipate and prevent. So the masks are beautiful objects. And they also talk about working collaboratively. These masks were made with many people helping her, and that is also part of the Korean fabric tradition of working collectively to make patchwork quilts and patchwork fabric. So you can go to her website and you'll find many of these masks, and you'll learn more about the tradition of patchwork quilting.
Liz, a quick
Korean
question.
tradition. Yes.
Is the mask a face size? Is it like actual size, or is it a larger?
No, these are all human-sized masks. They're meant to be worn. And it's an installation of many masks.
Oh.
And there are pictures of her wearing the masks as well.
Yeah, it's quite beautiful. I'm also very much noticing the background that it's set on for this, in this case.
The pink background. If I'm remembering correctly, I think she painted the wall it's hung on pink, but I could be wrong about that. Go to her website. I can give you her website. No, I can't.
I've got it here. I'll put it in the chat box.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought I had it in the printout. But here's some more information. So Unapologetically Asian is a series of face masks made with layers of tightly woven cotton canvas, muslin, and one-of-a-kind Korean silk patchwork. The work is in response to the fact that preventative masks worn especially by Asian people has largely been perceived as an unnecessary overreaction, a proof of illness, or an open invitation to commit hate crimes during the COVID-19 pandemic. The artist's work unapologetically embraces her ethnic identity to confront COVID-19 related anti-Asian racism that is prevalent today. Supporters of the project become active participants as they wear the masks in solidarity, discuss the project with others, and bring awareness to the experience of Asian people, as well as other marginalized communities disproportionately affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. While I was on her website, I searched to see if you could purchase them, but I could not find a way to do that. Maybe somebody else could find that for us as well. Thank you, Lauren, for putting it in the chat box. The address, I think it's just juliakwon.com, am I right?
Yes, it is. And I think the only thing I saw for sale right now are her prints. They're 4x6, I believe. And they are part of the activism of just, you know, hot topics in 2020. So they're cool.
It's a really nice website too. It's very clean and easy to get around. I like the way she's arranged her website. All right, let's look at some.
Liz, hold on. It looks like some of this was hand sewn and some of it was machine sewn.
Yes, there's also a video showing her at work, so you can watch her process. Which I found interesting as well.
I like how all of her installations, from the gardening regarding our climate to the masks, everything is collaborative. And it's just very cool.
Yeah, very much about collective, collaborative, community outreach, which we've talked about with other artists before. This is what new, young, cutting edge artists are all about. And to me, it's a really thrilling movement in the art world today. Artists aren't about themselves. anymore. They're about the larger community.
But the whole idea of quilting too is a very feminine activity and community type activity.
Absolutely. And very strong in the traditional Korean community, apparently. Yeah, she's definitely a feminist. Big time. All right. And she, you know, she does nothing to hide that fact. All right, let's look at more pictures. I find her work very interesting. I thought I had some pieces that really show the stretcher bars, but I'm not seeing that at the moment, unfortunately.
So the pieces that she's kind of scrunched over, those have been stretched past the frame, but then reattached. Is that where the stretcher bars come in, or are those the poles? The like square, almost looks like a fence post.
I think her process is to only stretch them partially over the frame and leave the framing exposed. So much to say about this one. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think?
Well, I love the layering. She seems to, everything that she slashes like this, she's got like a color behind it, be it gold or black or whatever. But this is just really loud and racist, but putting it at the forefront of like, this is still a reality in 2021. And I guess it's not accepting it, but it's like a very powerful, you know, in your face, this is messed up sort of a piece. I really like it. It's angry, but it's vibrant, and I don't know. And I don't know if I'm seeing it correctly, but that's kind of what I took from this piece.
It also has a very Matisse-like feel to it, like the figures in the background
Mhm.
and the colors.
Those slashes are they leave me
Powerful.
speechless. Yeah, they're powerful. They're now, can I say this on public recording? They're a violation.
I
They're a
thought,
rupture.
They're a rupture. Okay, there's that word. Creating rupture on Korean patterns, but this really isn't a Korean pattern.
Does it say ching, chang, ching?
ching, chang, chang. But, you know, same. It's like claw marks, like it's been slashed across this already horrible statement. But I don't know. I can't look away. It's very powerful.
Well, maybe because I'm working on dinosaurs, but when I first saw the slashes, I thought of the Jurassic Park logo. I think it was Jurassic 3. You just see the slashes. Violent.
It's very violent.
Would the figures show like generations upon generations of this reality, this violence, this atrocity, I guess, against a people? I don't know. I feel like the figures to me say generations of this.
It could be.
Liz,
Yes.
sometimes, well, not this particular, saying, but ching chong, ching chang chong are pejorative terms sometimes employed by speakers of English to mock or play on the Chinese language, people of Chinese ancestry, and other East Asians or Southeast Asians perceived to be Chinese. So, of course, the language is what people say to people when they want to be damaging.
Yes.
Hence the slashes and, you know, what's going on now. So this is a very powerful piece as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you, Susan, for offering that. I was just about to look up whether that string of words, whether it had a specific meaning. So that's really helpful.
Thanks.
It's also a frightening image. It's terrifying.
But it's like in your face, you know, it's not like a secret violence. It's a very in your face, this is happening violence. And I don't know. I saw this somewhere when I was researching her, and I don't know. I stared at it probably 20 minutes. Where is it hanging? Do you know?
I don't know.
I'll try and find out.
Thank you.
There's also a startling similarity to Stuart Davis's work, where it's very illustrative, very message oriented. And I shot you off a screenshot of Champions that also has slashes, very reminiscent. So I also think it's evocative that she's likely being inspired by other people that are messaging.
I would guess, yes, that she's looked at Stuart Davis's work. Yeah, thank you. That was Lily, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I had forgotten about Stuart Davis. I keep the slashes to me, I need to keep going back to this feminine reference. I don't know how to talk about it in a public space fully and adequately, but it has violent feminine connotations for me that I think she's alluding to. Abuse towards women, as well as abuse towards people of Asian descent. Aesthetically now, I want you please to start looking at the patterning, because that's going to be very important in the work that we are going to create today. So look at the beautiful patterning. I believe this is a traditional piece of Korean fabric. The slash in this one is so powerfully placed. The diagonal opening, rending. Again, rupture is just a great word. Cutting
These looks like they could be glued to a canvas. I can't really tell.
I believe,
There's
these are
the
paintings. She paints.
paintings.
Yes, she paints the image of the fabric on the
Okay.
canvas.
Yeah, because the edges are so
Yeah,
tight. I was
just
wondering
so precise.
about
She
that.
probably uses tape,
Right.
blue tape, to keep her edges perfect. And the other thing that makes it look like collage is the cut and the way she's folded the edges up. Gives the illusion of three-dimensional texture. There was no reference at all to collage in her work, but I could be wrong. I could find no reference to collage. Those of you who look further into her work, you might find more.
I think the paintings are all done in oil.
That I don't know either. I didn't find if she uses oil or acrylic, so that's another interesting thing to look at.
The pieces I looked at were all oil,
Okay.
and that's not to say everything is, but that's what I found.
I just love the power of the diagonal. Everything in this is about the diagonal thrust.
I think there's a similarity for me when I look at this in regards to the comments earlier about the fabric feeling garment-like and quilted and then destroyed unexpectedly. It reminds me of when women would wear furs particularly in big cities, and then people would come up with like spray paint or big slashes of paint and destroy the fur coats that women were wearing. It's kind of like this guerrilla warfare, kind of violent, and kind of like it happens then, and then you see the outcome. And it is very personal. But I liken it back to that the protest of destroying the furs that people were wearing in public.
And I also think about the objectification, particularly of Asian women by Western men in this country, most especially. I think my feeling is that a lot of her work is about that. And also in World War II, I mean, Korean women were
Comfort women.
horribly mistreated.
Mhm.
So there's a long history of violence against Asian women.
Some of it by other Asians.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right. But I think this piece is beautiful. I hope we can also see the beauty in her work. Okay. Look at a few more pieces I want to inspire you guys for the work you're going to do today. This one's very different. And actually, I hope this is by her because this is so different. I'm looking at it thinking, oops, maybe I made a mistake on this one, but let's look at it. I think it's her. I'm pretty sure it's her because look, here it's slashed. Here are the traditional fabrics.
They look like kimono fabrics.
Could be. I don't know. Is the kimono a traditional Korean?
Well, I think they call it something else, but it's very similar. It's an outer robe.
Okay. I love this piece. I love the kind of freedom. This is much freer but it's also has that rage thing for me going on.
Me as well.
The tearing and but I love how she's continuing some kind of patterning over the edge, the hard edge, the geometric edge of the cut fabric. She's trying to extend the pattern outwards. So she's kind of breaking out of the rigidity of the format. I love that. And also working in the painted imagery into the fabric. Now this to me looks like it could be collage. It's very hard to tell.
I have a feeling it might be fabric because I recognize two of the patterns that I have at home. So the
Awesome.
white one and the blue one with the dragonflies.
Who's talking?
Talene.
Celine, okay. But you
Yeah.
know, she could have copied it.
Ah, okay.
She's such a skilled painter that, I mean, and this is what she does. She copies the patterns. That's what she does.
So even the fraying of the threads on the side, she probably paints on the
She,
on the canvas, I guess.
it's possible. I don't know the answer.
Gotcha. Okay.
I hope she does more like this. I really like this. Okay. So. I kind of feel like we've looked at a lot. Do you want to look at one more? This one is also different. We'll look at one more and then we're going to go to work. This one also is very different. It may be one of my favorites. So this one is less about patterning. Not sure what to say about this. I just like it. Anybody have any thoughts?
I think that it might be the hands throwing themselves up to protect themselves. At first I thought it was pushing away, but I think it's like a protective thing. This is Margot.
Yes.
That's really interesting because I saw something, I feel like it's like muddying up a tradition, something that looks very pristine and very traditional patchwork here. And then you've got these hands mucking it all up and you don't even see the vibrancy beneath this dirt. It's just, you know, irreverent, I guess, almost, maybe. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Or it could be the hands of the oppressor destroying the tradition. The hands of the racist being destructive. The colonialist attacking the tradition. So this is what I've said many times. Again, I think I need to repeat it because it's my definition of what great art is. It's got technical skill. It's aesthetically pleasing and beautiful. It's enigmatic. It makes us question and think hard about what we're looking at. So for me, that's what classifies Julia Kwon's work as art and not just craft. She fills the bill. All right. So today, Anyone have any last minute thoughts or comments that they would like to share? Who hasn't talked today?
I was just gonna say, just to add on to what Lauren mentioned, it looks like a traditional, beautiful quilt, and someone has tried to graffiti it. That was my first impression when I saw it. It's like, no, no more. We're pulling away from that.
Right. So more kind of almost from a feminist or a progressive viewpoint, that we're tired of tradition. We want to
Yes.
do it our way and a new way.
And she's using primary colors and then black and white.
All right.
You know, I thought that at first too, but then I don't know who said it. The first person who spoke said that it looks like a person defending themselves. The more I look at it, I can see an eye and a shape of a face and some hair right by like the pinky. I got the impression of someone
Yes.
like,
Here's the eye, correct?
yeah,
The pointer is, and here's
right
the
under it, and then that's the chin or yeah, the jawline. And the more like
yes.
I looked at it, yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, yeah.
So whoever said that was very perceptive because I didn't see it initially, but the more I looked at it.
Wow.
Good morning, Liz. Liz, good morning.
Morning, Helen. Welcome. So, and another thing that for me makes this great art is she's, again, working collaboratively to bring awareness to the larger community about racism and hate. She's trying to stop the negative forces that are alive and well in our world today. So kudos for that. All right. So what I would invite us to do today is our own form of love for fabric, appreciation for fabric. I have collected in my workspace today a whole bunch of material. I have a particular love for African fabric. I don't really have, I used to have a lot more Asian fabric, but my African fabric has taken over my life completely. So I have a mound here of all different patterned African fabric. I also, in my email to everyone this week, I said, if you have any dolls, they may help you as well. So I have a doll collection from all over the world, as many of you know. Actually, this one is Asian batik fabric. So I brought a few of them as well. This is Asian, it comes from India. Very patterned fabric in its clothing. This one's African. So I want you to look around your workspace or your home for anything with pattern on it. If you don't have fabric, look for paper that might have fabric-y type pattern on it, upholstery, pictures on the web, pictures from magazines with fabric patterns in it. And I'm inviting us to create our own paintings with compositions made from different fabric patterns. I'm going to use acrylic paint. You can use any colored materials that you have if you don't have paint. Oil pastels, soft pastels, colored pencils, crayons, all of that is great to use for this project. Obviously, you'll need some kind of paper for your background. A pencil, you might want to use pencil to sketch in your composition first. Try and go for an off-balance composition a la Julia Kwon. Try and go for a diagonal thrust to the image that you're using. Maybe start in one corner and build a composition that runs right off to the opposite edge of the piece. What other suggestions can I give you? Go bold with the color. Keep your patterns large and simple. I don't want you to get obsessive compulsive about doing lots of teeny tiny patterning. If you have a piece of fabric, for example, like this, that does have a lot of tiny patterns on it, choose a section and enlarge the pattern. Simplify it. Make it bigger. Don't go crazy with trying to replicate each and every tiny piece of the pattern. It doesn't have to have a deep political or philosophical message. I want you to take some of what you looked at today, some of the visual stuff that you looked at today, and create something pleasurable for you to do in the next hour. Doesn't have to be realistic. This could just be complete pattern, complete abstraction. All right, any questions? You could either unmute or you could put questions in the chat box.
I have one question.
Sure.
Will Elmer's glue work with fabric?
Yes, if you want to do a fabric collage, go for it. Elmer's glue is good. Hot glue gun is good for this. The only thing I would caution, when you apply the glue, you want to do it as smoothly as you can. Otherwise, you're going to get a very lumpy texture. Okay. You may want that. And the other thing you can do as you apply the fabric, smooth as you go. If you have a roller, you can roll the fabric. I would work on a flat surface if you're gluing fabric to paper, and I would try and use a heavier weight paper for your base. You know, don't use like photocopy paper as your base paper. Cardboard or tag board would be better. Or if you have a piece of canvas, a piece of gesso or primed canvas would be ideal if you're doing fabric collage.
I've gessoed some cardboard.
Gessoed cardboard would work well too. A canvas board, if you have it, would work beautifully for that. Any other questions? Looks like everybody started already. Oh, Elena is here. Great. Lorraine is here. Welcome. People snuck in while I wasn't watching. I love that.
Liz, I was here from the start.
Where?
EJ was here from the start.
I miss. Well, welcome everybody.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so begin when you like. We'll, as always, we'll stop at like 1/4 to share and talk about the artist for next week. That was a heavy conversation. If anyone is feeling disturbed or upset about what we were looking at and you want to share in private with me your thoughts or feelings about it, please do. I try not to be offensive, but you know, I'm human. The human animal is defensive. Just by in our daily existence, we offend. Oh, and speaking of pattern, you can always be inspired by the shirt I'm wearing. I'm very proud to say this was made by one of my new nieces in Senegal. Love the fabric of this.
That's gorgeous.
Wow.
Wow.
Isn't it cool?
Love it.
I also have a skirt to go with it. I haven't had the chutzpah to wear the skirt yet because the skirt kind of overwhelms me. It's so big. It goes, it's one of those fabulous high-waisted skirts, but the volume of it, it's so huge that it's almost difficult to walk in. It's like a ball gown skirt. I'm thrilled to have it. All right, so again, I encourage you not to watch me, but if you think it will help you to jumpstart your own work, you're definitely welcome to. I am going to start, as always, with a pencil sketch to lay out my composition. I have no idea where this is going to go for me. And if you want to get into the cutting and slashing aspect with your work, I would recommend you paint first, let it dry, and do the ripping, cutting, and slashing second. But that's entirely up to you. But that's the way I would do it. And I'm only guessing, but I'm guessing that's the way Julia Kwon probably does it as well. I didn't find a video about how she does that kind of work, only about how she makes her masks. So as I mentioned before, I'm working with multiple patterns. I might go for a grid format to help me organize. Not sure yet. That might be a little bit too rigid for my style. Let's see if I can show you what I'm looking at. Always difficult with Zoom. That's the mound of material on my table.
Beautiful designs.
So they're all African. Ironically, this African fabric is Dutch Indonesian batik. The Dutch brought the fabric to the technique of batiking to Indonesia, thinking that the Indonesians would love it. But in fact, it turned out when the Indonesians brought the fabric to Africa, the African people fell in love with it. So talk about globalization. Actually, I think I have the pathway of the history of the fabric backwards. I think the Dutch discovered batiking in Indonesia, manufactured the fabric, brought it to Holland thinking the Dutch would like the fabric, ended up bringing it to Africa where African people fell in love with it way more than the Dutch. And made a fortune selling it in Africa rather than in Holland. Another interesting thing, Lauren, for you to research. I used to know that history. Oh, Lauren, you have the history of West African wax print. All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. It's really interesting. And it dates back to Egypt, the batiking. So how cool is that?
Very cool. All right, don't forget to mute now. Thank you. All right, so I'm ready for the paint. Oh, sorry to interrupt, but for those of you who might be interested, I have emailed Leo Pellegrini and Tom Foley about whether or not we could have our senior classes again at the senior center, but outside. So I don't know if any of you have their email addresses, or if you see them on the street, bring it up if you're interested. It's always the case. If the more people who ask, the more chance we have of it happening. And those of you who used to be in the classes, I don't know if you remember Barbara. Wish I could remember her last name, but her husband recently died.
Yeah,
Corman.
Corman, thank you.
yes. Mm-hmm.
She's somebody who would really benefit, I think, if we could have the classes again. That's why I'm mentioning her. She really loved those classes. But they do have that big courtyard, and Tommy was definitely willing to move tables outside for us way before COVID even happened. So if you're interested, you could also email me and I could forward you their email addresses. forget to mute. Please mute, everybody. Even the sound of the pencil on your paper can be a distraction for folks. Thank you. Everyone okay? Being absorbed. Good. So we have about 10, 11 more minutes. Gosh. Class is going too quickly. long way to go on mine. I haven't even finished blocking in the shapes, but that's all good. I loved working on today's project. I don't even know if you can see how far I progressed. Yeah, mine looks like some kind of ancient beast so far, but a long way to go. I want to fill in this whole area. Once it dries, I'm going to go in and work on details, a lot of outlining, a lot of the smaller patterning that's visible in the patterns. One thing I love about looking at fabric is the way patterns change their form depending on how the folds are in the material. Love, love, love how that happens. All right, so give me a second. I'm going to look up who we're doing next week, and then we can share. So I have put the name of next week's artist in the box. He is an Indonesian artist named Iko Nugroho. And I think you're going to enjoy his work. I will be sending you an email later in the work about what we're going to create and the materials that you will need. Boy, if any of you have been to Indonesia, I would love to hear any of that information next week too. I've always wanted to go. I've always wanted to go. I mean, I lived in Australia for many, many years, very close to Indonesia, and never went. Stupid me. So if you've traveled there, I would love to hear more about it.
I've been there about 8 or 9 times.
Oh my gosh. All right. You're my best friend.
And Bali. Bali's awesome. A lot of Australians, they go there to surf.
Well, that's the stupid reason why I never went to Indonesia, because I never wanted to go where the Australian tourists were.
Well, these would be college kids.
Exactly. I mean, I lived and worked in Australia for 7 years, and on my holiday, I avoided Australians. So big regret. I never went to New Zealand.
Yeah, I want to do that.
Another big regret. One day, it's still possible. All right, who would like to share? I know you had fun today.
I did.
Do you want to go first, Dina?
Sure. Because I know that mine is going to be really different. Okay, so.
Oh, wait, I did that wrong.
I've got a pterodactyl, a brontosaurus, a stegosaurus, and a triceratops. Got my primary colors in there. And
you're still in the
I've got the
dinosaur
claw
stuff.
marks.
I like how you made the
Anyway,
red frame and then continued the red inside the composition. That works great. Great. And all the
thanks.
sharp.
I've got to trim the cardboard a little bit,
Why?
but anyway.
I
Oh, the
wouldn't,
cardboard because it's ragged.
but I
Really?
like that. I
Okay.
like that raggedy edge. It goes with the sharp zigzaggy edges of the dinosaurs.
Well, on my pterodactyl, Lauren suggested I add the red tongue because it's the
Yeah,
only carnivore. But I had fun.
Love it.
And it pulls the whole composition together.
Thanks. And this is the upholstery fabric we got from the doll making workshop.
All right, there you go. Awesome. Who's next? Who's next? Elena or Lorraine or Pat? Pat, we haven't seen any of your work for a while. You're off camera. You want to share, Pat? All right.
Well, it's still work in progress. It's
Oh, wait, you have to remove your background.
okay. Give me a second.
Yeah, because it's swallowing up your art.
I has not used this computer, so I don't really know how to turn it off. But can you see? Nope.
It's kind
I
of
think-
cool that the background just shines through the artwork and it's beautiful.
Getting there. It's like yeah. It's hard to see. Maybe I just
Yeah,
put it
it
in my
is
face.
hard to see.
Yeah, it's hard to see. It's okay.
If you figure out how to remove the background, let us know. We'll come back.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Who
Thank
else?
you.
Who else? Come out, wherever you are. I mean, I can always have the option. If you'd rather keep working for 10 minutes and not share, but sharing really helps.
I'll share.
Susan, yay. We haven't
I
seen
didn't-
your work in a while, Susan, either.
Yeah, I haven't done any color yet. I've just been
Loving the patterns.
drawing it out. I didn't have any fabric except what's in my living room all over the place. So I started drawing
Yeah,
from,
that works.
yeah. And I think I'll do markers and not paint. I have hundreds of different markers, so.
And you have a lot of patterns. So you might want to, a strategy you might want to use is choose the dominant color first.
Mm-hmm.
That'll help you pull it together.
Yeah, okay, very good,
Awesome.
thank you.
Awesome. And remember, for this kind of artwork, you don't have to use colors that are true to what you're looking at. You can go to town with the color. Talene, would you like to share? That's a definite no. Okay. You're right and privileged to say no. Esty? Yes. Yes, maybe, yes.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay.
Not done yet. I think not done.
There, shiny. Wow.
Yeah.
Love it.
Shiny. Yeah.
Love it.
Fantastic. Beautiful.
Very cool. Wow.
Okay.
Oh, look who's there.
Oh,
Hello. Making art also?
Sure.
All right.
Making now.
You making
Mhm.
art? Yes.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, Esty. Robin? Oh, Robin looks like she's on the phone. Lauren, would you like to share?
sure. So this, I'm starting this And I am trying to put it in layers. You can't really see it this way, but underneath I have some swirls, which I've painted over, and it kind of gives it a texture. But this is literally, I've just started this. I had done a couple ideas on paper first. I thought about doing like a patchwork.
Yeah.
You can see that.
Nice.
And then obviously this is closer to what I'm choosing to do. So it's kind of.
Yeah, it's hard to see. Are you working on a pizza box?
I'm working on a pizza box. I am. Half a pizza box, but yes, definitely. My New York roots. It's like my dad's favorite food. It's like the 6th food group for him.
Well,
Pizza.
The best part is you are reusing.
Well, I mean, you can see I'm immersed in making canvas, and this is like my art studio's blown up, but you know, I'm having fun. I'll have to show you the cameras I'm working on. Very cool. They're coming along. So
Send me JPEGs, please.
yes, ma'am.
All right, and you're doing spirals, which are my favorite shape on earth. So keep.
Really? I really like them. I love circles and stars. But yeah.
It's a nice beginning. Please send me, as you progress, send me images.
I will.
All right, Heather. Thank you, Lauren. No, that's a no. All right, a lot of no-nos today. Elena.
Hi there. I'm not quite done, but I'll show you
Hey.
how far I am or am not. Here, I'm going to turn on the video. Bear with me, please. I'm turning on the video now. Can you see it?
This must be you.
Oh, absolutely love this.
Pull it back a bit. You're a little too close to the screen. A little bit more. Love it.
Beautiful. How did you weave that? Is that fabric or some sort of a string, the blue?
This is elastic, but I was inspired by one of her mask colorations, and I was just gathering some fabric, and I'm like, oh, this is close. The pinks and the turks and the maroon. One of her masks had inspired me as far as a color composition. So I'm not quite done here, but
I'm sorry, finish.
I'm not quite done this area.
Actually, I think this piece is finished.
Oh, great. Thank you, Liz.
That's what I was thinking. What was your plan for the what is that, the right corner?
I wanted to find some more patches of turk somehow. I just felt like this area is very bland.
Oh, I think it's gorgeous, and it doesn't look like negative space. I think it's pulled together by the top left. And I mean, I think it's like Liz said, it looks finished. It's beautiful.
Now, Elena, I would suggest you could put some things there and see how it looks. And then I wouldn't glue anything down or attach anything. Just put them there and play around and see what you think. But I like it the way it is, I have to say. The triangular thing, right? The triangular thing that's slightly off center is quite wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
The maroon and the elastic and the darker pink on your right, but our left is wonderful. Very strong composition. Terrific.
Thank you so much
for sharing.
Thank you.
A few more minutes. Shirley or Lorraine? Shirley, do you want to share?
Liz, not today.
Okay. Lorraine, would you like to share? Hard to gauge when I cannot see you. And Robin, I'm not seeing you now. All right. So I encourage you to look more at Julia Kwon's work and see what you think. I encourage you to go to PS1 and see the work of Nikki de Saint-Fa. Her work looks silly and amusing and lighthearted, but her work also is quite deep and interesting. I liked it so much. I had such a good time. They say you have to have time tickets, but like I said, there was hardly anybody there. The couple that went in ahead of us did not have time tickets, so you could take your chances and go without getting your tickets first. It's one of the cheapest entries into a museum in Manhattan, particularly if you're a senior like me. I think it was only $5 entry into the museum. And it's a little museum. It's in an old school building. All right, any final thoughts today?
Liz.
Yes, Helen, hi.
Hi. How about the one in Hoboken? You have to pay for that one too, the museum?
The museum in Hoboken. I don't know what they're
Yeah.
showing at the moment. There was a terrific show about what do you call those things? The cornices on the rooftops around Hoboken. And I think that may still be on. It was a photographer who walks around Hoboken taking pictures of the rooftops. And some of them are gargoyles, I think, and some of them, I have lions on my house. I have the only lions, as far as I know, on a house in Hoboken. Do you need time tickets to get into that art gallery? Probably. So you would go to their website, Helen, and register to go. I know it was open for their opening. Is it open during the week? That I don't know. Heather, do you know about the Hoboken Historical Museum? Whether you can get in?
I'm not sure, but I would imagine that it's not that crowded, that you could just go.
Yeah, even in non-pandemic times, Helen, it's not crowded there.
Okay.
It's not that far. You could just walk and try and get in.
But you have to pay $5 for it?
Do you have to what?
Pay $5, right? To get in? Or no?
There is a suggested donation at the Hoboken Historical Museum. Do you have to pay to get in? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They won't force
right.
you to pay.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. That also, you could go to their website and find out.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck. It is after 12 noon. Usually Heidi comes on to say goodbye, but I guess she's too busy today. So I'm going to
here. Bye, everyone.
Heidi.
Bye.
Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Here.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 I'll see some of you in Union City tomorrow night. Otherwise,